Jesus must have been in the kitchen when he first spoke these two parables in today's gospel. This is what made him very different from the other rabbis in his time, Although he sometimes also preached in the formal setting of the synagogue when there was an occasion for it, he actually preferred informal, everyday settings like the home, the dining table, a boat ride, a walk on the lake shore, or on a hillside, a conversation under a tree, on the road, or wherever people were, especially those who did not frequent the temple or the synagogue. He avoided being too technical in his language. He was never legalistic, theoretical, or academic. He was very practical and experiential. He loved to elaborate on his point through storytelling, or by cracking a joke, or by using parables, allegories, or images. And when he quoted lines from the scriptures or from some traditional sayings, he dared to put them in his own words or paraphrase them. He spoke, for example, about the birds of the sky and the lilies of the fields, about pearls and hidden treasures, about wine and wineskins, about sowing and harvesting, about vineyards and fruitless fig trees, about borrowers and lenders, about family issues between parent and child, a parent-child conflict or a sibling rivalry. In today's gospel, he speaks about the mustard seed and the yeast. They were both common ingredients found in the kitchen. Mustard seeds, they were commonly used in the Mediterranean. They were ground and made into a paste. And up to now, mustard is a very common condiment in the Mediterranean countries. And the yeast, which is used for making the dough rise in the process of baking bread. And yet, his point is clear and simple. What's the point? Little things can make a big difference. Let me repeat that. Little things can make a big difference. The kind of mustard paste that they made in the time of Jesus was so pungent. Just a little bit of it on bread could make you cry. A bit like the wasabi of the Japanese on sashimi. He also knew how a few mustard seeds could end up dominating a whole field like weeds, and how difficult it can be for a farmer to get rid of them. And the same thing goes with the yeast used to leaven the dough. Jesus uses the image, by the way, both negatively and positively. Negatively, in reference to the hypocrisy of the Pharisees, and positively, in reference to the kingdom of God, which is at work in the most unassuming ways. A few days ago, a psycho-spiritual webinar entitled Big Dreams for Little People was aired live stream on Facebook and YouTube. It was organized by Maria Glorian Tomen, also known by the nickname Toink. She's the daughter of Nina Tomen, my co-author in several of my heritage books and gospel storytelling series. Toink was born with a genetic condition called achondroplasia, or dwarfism. As she grew up, everything about her was normal, except her height and body proportions. But this condition did not prevent her family from allowing her to live a relatively normal life. You know, she finished AB Communications major in broadcast journalism at the Holy Angel University in Angeles City. And she got employed as a researcher at the Angeles City Information Office. And she has received a lot of recognitions for her unwavering commitment to uplifting the lives of little people, such as the founding of a now well-established advocacy group called Big Dreams for Little People Philippines. Toink is well aware that most other little people are not as lucky as she has been. She happens to have a very loving family. Many of them are treated as a disgrace and have suffered discrimination, bullying, and abuse. If I am not mistaken, I think they call her Toink because she loved to run around when she was still a little child, but her lack of body proportion caused her to fall every now and then. But then, like a ball, after each fall, she always bounced back quickly. That's why she was called Toink. She seems to have drawn a lot of strength from her faith in Jesus. I have a feeling that Toink is naturally drawn to Jesus in the Gospels because she is aware that Jesus was himself a lover of little people, both in the literal sense and the figurative sense. Jesus loved little children. He gave them importance and defended them from abuse. He went out of his way to befriend the little man, Zacchaeus, the tax collector. He valued the contribution of those who were considered insignificant in society. Remember the widow and her 2 copper coins? Or the little boy who offered his 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, which ended up feeding 5,000 people. In the gospel parable, ironically, it is the poor beggar Lazarus who has a name, while the rich man remains anonymous. And in his journey to Jerusalem, Jesus gave his attention to the blind beggar who also has a name, Bartimaeus, while everybody else wanted to silence the poor beggar who was making noise. Finally, in Matthew chapter 25, Jesus refers to his disciples as the least, or literally, the little ones. He says whatever act of kindness we do for the little ones, we do for Jesus. St. Paul is right in what he says in his first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 1, verses 28 to 29. And let me quote him. God chose the little ones and despised of the world, those who count for nothing, to reduce to nothing those who are something, so that no human being might boast before God.